Okay, interesting podcast. All right, welcome back to Okay, interesting. This is the Okay, what the?
Yeah, new format,
Yeah,
same old
same with us.
us.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so what are we talking about, Salman?
So Google made an announcement just 2 days back. They were shutting down Google Stadia, uh, one of the kind of prominent cloud gaming capabilities. They came out with a Wi-Fi based controller, and you can just pause the game, switch over from your PC to your phone, pause it on the phone, move on to a tablet, pause it over there, move it on to a TV. I mean, fascinating, fancy. Uh, it had bandwidth requirements, country requirements, uh, and suddenly they're shutting it down. So let's have a quick look.
Yeah, so I also read about it. I was, not surprised because Google tends to do that with their, new services, whatever they introduce. They have a division called X
Yeah,
Labs, which is, like perfecting in the art of shutting down services, like within like a few years after their launch. Uh, so I believe it's good to experiment of by launching these new services, but then people usually run out of patience and they stop trusting the OEM who does that frequently.
it's hard
So
to commit. If it's hard to that commit that okay, this product will go a long way. There will be support. There'll be variety. Even the developers were shocked that okay, you're shutting down the service that we have just we have a couple of months and we're launching this, and there are folks who are interested. There are multiple other platforms, uh, but Google usually has a good variety, a good price point compared to anybody else. So yeah, I think uh, there was good amount of hype to get it, but
yeah, so I
so
think they were the one of the few companies who launched this service, right? So and plus with the power of Google search and all of those products complementing it, I think it would have been an amazing experience. Although we never got to try it because it wasn't available over here.
right,
Uh, but I'm not shocked. Like they are known for doing this.
correct. So I mean, it's all about trust. Eventually,
Yeah,
it's all about running, going the long way, having good amount of catalogs. Something that PlayStations and the Xboxes have been fighting over the years for exclusive content for only games which are exclusive. Spider-Man is only on Sony, nowhere else. Something like that. Uh, we're expecting a lot from a lot of these cloud-based so that if you've seen a lot of Apple's arcade has taken the second gen games and made it
yeah,
exclusive onto their Apple Arcade.
okay,
So you can play the first version free on your Apple Store or the Google Play Store, but the
yeah,
next
yeah.
gen is exclusively on the Apple Arcade. So you subscribe, you pay a monthly fee, and you get it that way.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think like funny you mentioned Apple because I think biggest advantage that Apple has is like they have the entire ecosystem. Like we have discussed that ecosystem in our previous episodes as well, and the fact that they want to monetize each and every service that they're launching. So Arcade is just one of those. It is not the most popular, I would say.
yeah.
It is like one of the less popular ones, but yeah, they have a huge potential with the with the ecosystem that they have. Like a lot of folks exclusively use Macs.
Hmm.
The iPhone infra is huge. Like I believe there won't be as many all other devices combined, like
Yeah,
which can be used for a gaming purpose, like with a dedicated hardware of that aspect. And I think kudos to them. They're they've launched that service and they're doing well with it. But on the contrary, what Google lack is like the presence in the hardware department.
Hmm.
Microsoft has experience with gaming with their
Right.
Xbox division, and the whole dedicated, Windows OS, which is like, most people use it exclusively just to play video games. And Google, they have Chromebooks, they have, Android that they can leverage, but then it would be like very minuscule if you talk about devices which are actually there to give you that experience. Like, firstly, you have to tie in all the manufacturers up. I think that was another issue that
Hmm.
they ran into. And I think tying up with Samsung on that, they could have considered it. I don't know if they did, or like what was the story behind shutting it down. Maybe like if the article talks about something, we can explore. But like, to sum it up, like, I'm not surprised with this move.
Yeah, they have a history. They have a history.
Yeah,
We can jump into that maybe in some other
yeah,
episode. But yeah, uh, I mean, there's of course a good gaming legacy with PlayStation, with Microsoft.
mm,
Amazon jumped into it with Luna, uh,
yeah,
and Google also was giving competition. Of course, as I mentioned, it couldn't really be the number one, but it could have given a tough time to all of these
yeah,
very
yeah,
easily, especially with the Chromebook backing, the Chromebook, and uh, the new uh, the new acquisition where you can just if you have old hardware, you can just put in the Google Chrome, the Chrome OS Lite edition, uh, which just which runs on minimal hardware. That makes sense for Google Stadia, so that you have your PC, you have an old PC, old laptop, you give it a new life, and then you use the lighter version of Google, the Chrome OS, and you're done. You can have gaming, you can have all that connectivity, cloud, backed software.
yeah.
So
I just think the early previews, like most people when they were trying out this service, the biggest complaint was the latency, I think. And like, like some game titles which do not require like the accurate button press, like, even if you press it like a couple of milliseconds or like, microseconds later,
hmm,
it won't really make a difference. But when it comes to gaming, latency is everything. Like,
yeah,
when
yeah.
you talk about the AAA titles, which are like, prominently, which are used like across by the gamers, and if they lag in that, like, that is what the feedback came out.
Hmm.
I think that is the whole reason. I think you know they might have considered shutting it down. But
And
again,
you
we
can
we should
always
go
go the
through the article.
Nintendo route, where it's a independent, you're playing the game on your own. You don't necessarily have to have a AAA title to have,
Yeah,
you can have Nintendo Switches, you can have the Nintendo DS, you can have those Nintendo V's, where
yeah,
you're on your own or you're with somebody, but you're playing on that device itself. You don't necessarily be on the net or play a high demanding, high low millisecond, a high refresh rate kind of games. They
yeah,
can always go that route. But yeah, uh, yeah, end of an short era that we have. And
yeah. So how long was it there? Like a few years, I guess.
so
Two
Stadia
years.
was just 3 years old.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So that's not a lot.
that's not a lot.
Yeah, this website is cool. I've gone through that.
Hmm.
The one you just shared. So
So there are a couple of
you know,
alternatives that, if you wanted Stadia, or if you had Stadia, you want to switch over. There are a couple
yeah,
of recommendations. We have the NVIDIA GeForce Now.
yeah.
Uh, you know,
That's the premium one, right?
hmm. So
But what is the hardware that you need to play? Okay, so it talks about Android phone,
hmm,
TV, PC, Mac OS. Uh, it does support like almost every ecosystem except, I think, your PlayStations and the Xboxes.
right.
Yeah. So And plus, like, you get a dedicated controller with this as well, like you did with Stadia, or you need to purchase like one extra.
I think it's I think it's a bring your own controller type of scenario.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have the Shield TV,
Hmm.
that is like the premium Android box that they sell.
Hmm.
I think you get a good, like, decent controller along with that. And if you compare like a Shield TV to, obviously it's not comparable to a PS4 or PS5, but if you compare, the quality of the hardware that you're getting is like not in terms of processing power, but in terms of like the quality of the remotes and, like,
Hmm.
the 4K gaming aspect. I think that is supported. But then, uh, as soon as you visit the con section, you see that
Yeah.
latency is not up to the
Yeah.
mark.
Yeah.
So I believe that's the key issue with cloud gaming.
Yeah.
You're just not there with the the networks and like the bandwidth and something that gives you that you know feel of a console.
Right.
And I think even they can try however hard until like we have that those speed levels in terms of the read write speed that you get from your local SSD.
Hmm.
You won't be able to achieve those sort of latency levels.
Yeah. As
And
long
plus,
as you
like,
have enough.
it can glitch out at any time because it is not dependent on your hardware and software. It
Hmm.
is dependent on something that is running through a network, so it can glitch out at any second.
And it
So
eventually take years because you need to have a good infra backing. You can of course go for the the tier one to tier two, tier three kind of zones and eventually capture everyone. But yeah, I think it'll appear. It'll
yeah,
take years, but it'll appear. I
that's
mean,
that's a dream, I think. With, like, India's getting 5G,
hmm,
so maybe, like, with 5G, you can unlock that potential of cloud gaming.
yeah,
Because I don't think 4G can, the current setup that we have at our homes, that is not capable of supporting cloud gaming,
yeah, not
with the
present.
exception of few broadbands which offer you like 1 Gbps of speeds,
Hmm.
maybe. But they don't talk about latency again.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah. So,
We have.
and plus, like, the feel of having your own hardware is like, it's like
Hmm.
next to like, that feeling is different. So you'll not get that feeling with cloud gaming. Sorry about that.
It's okay. There's Xbox cloud gaming. I haven't got my hands on that. Not in this region yet. So
I think what they are offering in India is just Game Pass.
hmm.
I was checking yesterday itself because I wanted to buy a game, and the only option that is currently available is Game Pass Ultimate, which basically gives you a lot of playtime, but then you have to download the game on your PC
Yeah,
to
yeah.
actually play. And see, the same con is with the Xbox as well, a bit high latency.
Hmm.
So, you know that is like revolving in circles. I think that is why Google pulled the plug. Maybe they would have deemed the technology at this stage impossible to achieve what they were trying to achieve. And it's commendable. They might have like really high standards. They don't
Yeah.
want to sell you short. So that's another aspect.
Yeah, it's
uh,
unlike any other cloud offering that we have. Uh, Take OTT for example. It's just a one-way stream. There is no
Correct.
there's no
Upload.
communication going back, and there's nothing that is reacting to what you are pressing on a button immediately. You
Correct.
press and pause Netflix. Sometimes it takes a second to respond to what you're doing. You rewind, that stream has to go back, it has to recognize what you really wanted, and it then goes back, plays, and it understands what resolution you had chosen. So we are we are on the way. We're definitely on the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think it's like still a couple of years till we get like a, I would say, like, in a beta version,
Hmm.
because currently what we are looking at is like something which is, fully baked from the software side, but then it is still at beta stage or alpha stage from the experience side.
Hmm.
So I think experience is king when it comes to gaming. That is why people
Absolutely.
invest in the absolute best, PC, absolute best consoles like PS5 and Xbox One. So I think, and trust me, like, people are still hoarding PS5s and, like, GPUs and all of that.
Hmm.
Like, I know GPUs could be because of mining, but
Mining.
majorly, like, there are a lot of gamers who still pay the big bucks to, own the best, latest and best, so that they have some sort of edge while they're playing. So I think that is hard to beat, man.
That's hard to beat. Yeah, those are
Yeah,
hardcore gamers, but that crowd is reducing. There are
yeah,
these.
that crowd is reducing.
Yeah,
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 that is for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
PS now I think maybe this is the only one which is available in India, right? Or I'm not sure.
Without a disc, not in India yet, as far as I know. Uh,
Okay.
they just are selling the ones which are with the disc or uh, with a hard disk, of course. But yeah,
Hmm.
no cloud capability yet. But yeah, I
Okay,
think this again falls into the same bandwagon like the others.
that's
Um,
correct.
it's a test, it's a trial, and of course they have a good backing from developers and the so yeah, I think they can still continue to push on, and they have the other variants, and they can always have a variant which is just pure cloud only as a trial. They'll see if the sales go up. If it's the iPhone Mini, no sales, they'll drop it.
Yeah,
So something of that sort.
and if you see the pros, it talks about internet speed requirement is slow. So I think that is key
Hmm.
for if you're trying to reach out to the mass markets, like outside of the US and Canada, is where you get amazing download speeds, or, like, low latency. And they only mention the con as, available on Windows PC.
Hmm.
So that's a huge win if you ask me. They're not talking about latency at all.
Hmm.
So I think this might be the most advanced. And what about the cost? Are we doing like a cost comparison as well?
There's no cost comparison at all here. Just about a
I think,
service
yeah. So they are not mentioning. Okay, yeah.
that's
So
mentioning over here.
yeah, 17.99,
Hmm.
which is, uh, I think it's more than your Netflix subscription for sure.
Easily,
Like, what is the Netflix subscription in the states? I think it's $12, $12 a month.
maybe.
Okay, and they're not talking about like which all games they are providing. Is it
It should be
just
on
the
the
popular
catalog on the
ones?
site.
Yeah, yeah,
PlayStation Plus Premium sounds like it should have everything if it's Plus and Premium. So
yeah. But imagine, like, the platforms it's supporting is PS5, PS4, PS4 Pro. Why would the user who's like having a PS5 and a PS4 not buy the game, or maybe subscribe to PS Plus and just, like, download it on a monthly charge and use it from their device? Like, does it make sense to release it for PS users? It should be catered to the other platforms, according to me, because they have the dedicated hardware, right?
yeah,
So they have access to that game. Maybe, like, if something is PS5 exclusive and like a PS4 user wants to use it, then it makes sense. But PS5, why would they even think about getting this?
some
I don't know.
strategy they'll trial combinations, whatever sells, whatever tactic.
Yeah,
So
maybe just release something which is cloud exclusive.
and one of the strongest cloud backed
Yeah, so
offerings, which has 99.999% uptime for business, is Amazon with
I just
AWS.
want to see how they deal with latency, man. That's the only key aspect of cloud
Well, they're one
gaming.
of the strongest cloud offer in the
Yeah,
street.
they do, no
So
doubt. I've not seen much downtime on AWS. So
yeah, the kind of I think titles they have, they're not one of the best, but yeah, I think if they come strong,
yeah,
if if the developers want to shift away from Google Stadia and then move the code to Luna, Amazon Luna, it's a win.
But I don't know how many developers does Stadia have, because they just have the developers who are building apps on Android for Play Store, right? Do they have
Uh,
any other publishing firms developing apps specifically for Stadia? I doubt that. Maybe they have, a
there were.
licensing. Okay.
So there was a good amount of backlash from those developers who were just ready to release a Stadia compatible, the whole cloud gaming experience ecosystem, and
Okay.
they were just about to release, and they were like, "Hang on, we'll pay you back. We apologize. We have the money, but we don't see the vision." So uh, for them, for a developer to port that to a different cloud service, maybe it's easy, uh, but yeah, it depends, what catalog they want to
Yeah.
maintain and all that.
Yeah. So yeah, that is another interesting take, because I think the hardware would be similar in most
Hmm.
cases. Like they won't be like using something which is exclusive to their cloud. So it comes down to like if the software is like the layer running on that you know on that hardware, is
Yeah,
that compatible with like the game that developers are building.
like it says,
So
oh yeah, it's affordable, but it does not have any titles, so no
it works
mainstream
with,
games.
yeah, it works with web browsers, man.
Hmm.
And like I've used AppStream, which is like a service from AWS, and
Hmm.
I think they basically the game engine would be built on that layer, right? Because that is how it is used. Like
Correct.
the stream is like there needs to be an agent. It can be a browser or something, and then you stream that app over that agent.
Yeah.
So the performance, like if I just bring in a couple of pointers about AppStream, it was like slow in the beginning. Like the first load time would obviously take more longer for any application that I was using at that time. But overall, like with the next streams and further on, it started improving. So I
Hmm.
think that was a good side to it, and the app was usable. No doubts about that. Like I could achieve whatever I wanted to achieve out of that app. But again, like going around in circles, does it beat something that you have on your hardware? It doesn't.
Hmm. As long as
So
it kills those PlayStation portables and resource hungry physical devices,
correct.
uh, you don't have to have those aged hardware. Who's going to buy my PS3? Who's going to buy my PS4? Once it
Yeah,
goes away, that's we know that the cloud gaming is here. So
that's correct.
it's still selling physical hardware. Gaming is still selling physical hardware, PCs, GPUs, all of that is still selling. uh,
Yeah,
you know Once your option comes here, once the titles come here, I think that's when we will have to switch out. Once the network, once our latencies are sorted out, once those data centers are in proximity to us, those are sorted
that's
out.
correct.
I think that's where it comes in.
So it is something to watch out for, like maybe this year, 2023,
Hmm.
I believe. So this is something that I'm personally looking forward to, because as a gamer, it is really painful to spend like a lot of money every 2 3
Yeah.
years to buy new hardware, like dedicated hardware. So, and it's not cheap. It's getting more and more expensive with this chip shortage, and like the hardware hoarding that a lot of people are doing across the globe. So prices are skyrocketing, and there was a time when you could get like a good complete hardware, like including CPU, including your monitor, everything you used to get for a certain amount, and now you barely get a GPU for that price. So
Yeah.
I think that is why, like, my like watch list for the new year is this platform. If something can give us that sort of
Hmm.
experience. And plus, like, the added benefit of like the entire library for that monthly cost. So you don't need to worry about space, you don't need to worry about downloading games, storing them, corrupting your hardware. And the fact that you can basically switch over from one title to the other without like any time wastage. So I
I mean,
think
it has
that's
happened. It
brilliant.
has happened with our DVDs and CDs and our local storage, and converting them, keeping them with us,
Correct.
putting it maybe on a NAS, streaming it to Plex. A lot of
Yeah,
hard work, a lot of encoding, a lot of processing power on our side. Then comes
that's correct.
OTT. We have Prime, we have Hotstar, we have Netflix, and suddenly that physical uh, physical sale of those CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays has gone away. Those are brilliant. Bitrate and the quality and the you know that is still, it still cannot be competed with online, but it's convenient at a lower resolution. It looks like 4K, but it is not the bitrate of a Blu-ray
Yeah.
4K.
So
So
it looks visually appealing.
yeah,
Like,
it's
uh,
just, it's like 90% there.
yeah, it's 90% there. And I think with the like, how they've improvised on the codecs over the years,
Hmm.
like they're able to achieve that 90% now with the
Yeah.
best compression technology that is available right now. I think if you scale it by almost, I think, 100 times, that would give you the premium experience over the same bandwidth
Hmm.
for gaming, I mean. So it has to be that much quicker and that much smaller and that much like, less reliant on the hardware that is playing. So that would be like their goal, according to me.
And if you don't want to do any of the cloud based, you don't have the patience to wait for them, but you want to have a pocket based uh, game, which is a a AAA title. There are
Yeah,
those top end games which you can install on your PC. It's a Steam based download that you have. It's PUBG, it's whatever that's on your PC, but you can get Steam Link on your iPhone or the Android, and as long as you have a good Wi-Fi 5G connectivity within the house, use Steam Link. I use it
okay,
for a couple of games of my own. I'm in the other room. I don't want to have a full-fledged keyboard mouse Forza game, but uh, I can use my uh, Android device with a Razer Kishi, and it feels like a PlayStation portable. I can just be in the comfort of my bed and play
yeah.
my top end PC game in my hand. So that's your you know your kind of a cloud gaming experience within the house itself.
Yeah, yeah. So I think PlayStation had the remote play.
Hmm.
That was
Yeah.
exactly this what you just spoke about in
Right.
context of Steam. I use Steam. I actually used Steam to download FIFA yesterday. So
Hmm.
like, I've not tried the remote thing. Maybe I'll try it. I don't know. I'll check with you like what are the requirements for that maybe.
Yeah.
So but again, like, needs a powerful hardware, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, most of them
So
have it, but maybe you just want a bit of a change. You don't just be on the chair and the keyboard and the mouse, and you just want to be a bit
yeah,
comfortable, and you want to play
yeah,
your GTA 5. You want to
yeah,
play something, but you just want to roam around in the city, but you don't want to be sitting on a chair. You just can be just lazy, in your beanbag, and
yeah,
just
yeah,
playing
yeah.
comfortably with your headphones on.
I totally get it because
Mm,
that is what I do when it comes to work as well. So
mm,
sometimes I don't feel like going to work. I
mm.
can just lazy in on my bed, or maybe
Correct.
like a comfy chair, and then just hold on to my laptop and work. So same goes for gaming, and I
Yeah.
completely agree that should be an option.
There are a couple of these
Startups.
services that came up which give you like a 15 minutes or a 20 minutes or a couple of hours free cloud gaming.
Okay.
It is a big bang. It came out a couple of years back. It came out at a very low pricing.
Okay.
Um, it boasted a top titles like GTA 5 and whatnot, whatnot. The only problem was queue. So you can go in for the free tier test trial, but
Hmm.
you have to wait in queue, and the queue is massive. But eventually,
Okay.
once you wait, you get through it. It does take a bit of a bit of time to load, and it kind of gives you a couple of minutes of an experience. What a cloud gaming option there are. So you don't need to
Can look
buy
like,
them
right? Yeah.
at a low price, like the Netflix sharing that we have, at that price of 199 a month, something like the
That's
gaming
pretty decent,
project.
man.
So it's out there. It's a bit flaky, but yeah, I mean, it's there.
Yeah, so it is available in India. I think none of the other projects are currently available here. So this
Right.
is, I think we can try this out, and it talks about 10 Mbps, right? So
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that the speeds that we are using
Yeah.
are much more advanced than that, and I think it would be a decent test. And it does not talk about the hardware, right? What hardware do you need for
No,
this?
not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all.
so I think that is a concern.
I think it's worth testing. I mean, it is saying it's only for Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. So
Okay, so Gurgaon doesn't count.
uh, Delhi, yeah.
Yeah, so that, you know, we'll talk about that other topic some other
Hmm.
time. But I think 5G services were launched yesterday, so I wanted to ask your take on it.
Yeah, there are a couple more alternatives, but I think they're all uh, just to bottom in the tier of offerings, other than these top companies like Amazon, Microsoft, others. Hopefully, uh,
Don't you
yeah.
think there could be like a dedicated startup, like, you know, how Netflix took over the movie streaming
Hmm,
industry? There could be a startup which is currently unknown but takes the huge leap in cloud gaming.
correct. And it's all about them owning the license. It's like
Yeah, so it is
Netflix
about
having the
having,
license for Friends for 10 years,
yeah,
and people, and then them announcing, okay, next year we don't have Friends anymore, and everyone just rushing to watch Friends so that they can finish all the 10 seasons. And then they know, they'll move
they
on to
won't
something
renew.
like Prime, and then I don't have Prime membership, and
Yeah,
but that Netflix has a rush of subscriptions because people want to just watch it for that. So something of that sort, where
remaining
there's,
time. Yeah,
they buy the license for that game exclusive to
and
them.
yeah,
And
and I think this is the hindrance for the startup to appear, I
hmm,
believe. So I think they might have the technology, they might have, the brains behind having that codec or that engine which allows you to stream faster and
yeah.
maybe accommodate the low latency or the high latency into, the context. But then they won't have access to all the, AAA titles and all of those. So I think that is the only drawback for a startup to appear.
But where was the startup hosted AWS, and AWS already is offering something like Luna,
Yeah,
but they, maybe they're not doing a dedicated hardware, but this
yeah.
startup
Okay.
can do that. They can enter into a hardware agreement that okay, we'll give you a controller, it'll be Wi-Fi based, just like the Stadia, something of
Yeah,
that sort. I mean,
yeah.
you know, they'll have to have some backing, which is not theirs, which they pay them. Netflix will be using. Um, I'm sure Netflix uses somebody else's cloud capabilities rather than their own.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
it's hosted on AWS.
yeah, yeah. So something like that. You have to worry about your movie library and
Yeah,
not worry about your hosting capabilities. So
that's right.
somebody in between just takes care of AWS in the backend, and provide the service, take care of the licensing, and take care of the titles, and let the service provider worry about the service and the hosting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So out of these all, what do you think, like currently looking at this landscape, which has the most potential according to you? If I know we have not tried any of these, but like just your take maybe.
I've used Xbox in the past. Not GeForce fan. Um I would like to test PlayStation if anything, uh, because that's one of the strongest companies which are independent, uh, you know, dedicated for gaming. So I know
They
I'm
have. huge set of publishers as well.
huge dedicated libraries,
Yeah,
Uncharted, and you name the games, the top titles are with them. So if there's somebody, those are the ones who can hold those game titles with them.
correct.
Yeah. So I
So I
think.
also see that, PlayStation now, or maybe like to some extent, maybe Xbox,
Hmm.
because they have that leap in terms of the tech being already
Hmm.
present. The only problem that might arise for them in case of PlayStation now is like, maybe supporting the correct sort of hardware, maybe bring in the Apple devices into the fold. And the issue with Microsoft Xbox service is latency. So
They can
I think,
always tie it up with their Sony televisions. You buy a Sony 4K Bravia, and then you get like a 1 year subscription to the
to
PlayStation
yeah,
network.
yeah. So
Like Apple
that
does it
that is
with their
actually a brilliant marketing strategy that they can use.
Apple does it with its Apple Music and the Apple Arcade. With their devices, you get that 1 month, couple of months trial. But
Yeah,
Sony sells these devices, and best is to give a trial over there. You have a trial, you're hooked on, then you don't notice that 199 going away from your credit card every month.
yeah. So I just feel that when it comes to these advertising things,
Hmm.
nobody competes with Apple in that. Like Samsung and Apple, they are the top dogs.
Hmm.
And I think these folks are like, they have an ecosystem, but like for some reason they are not up there in terms of utilizing that ecosystem to its potential. Even
Hmm.
Microsoft doesn't do that well. They're more focused towards the business lines and their business suites and all of that. But
Hmm.
when it comes to the other aspects, they are lacking.
But it's a big $1 billion industry, the
Yeah, it
gaming.
is.
So I know I'm
I
sure
think
they will.
I was reading stats like, uh, and don't quote me, maybe that source wasn't reliable, but it was said that EA Sports makes like 20 billion just from their FIFA game,
Wow, wow.
and that is like incorporating all the in-game purchasing plus like the exclusivity of like the game, because it has a FIFA tag, it has contracts with all the clubs, because so
Yeah, Apple
20
makes
billion is
billions from
huge.
their Play Store, 30% cut, and
Yeah,
from their in-game purchases also they earn billions. So
yeah,
there's a huge market. They just need
yeah.
to.
So that is what like they have to capitalize on services now, because hardware can take you to a certain extent,
Hmm.
but there would be a time when people will stop eventually buying hardware, or the pace will obviously slow down, because the
Yeah,
hardware is getting that good that you don't really need to replace it every year, and there are limited set of people who are engaging in these activities. So
I
you know
think hardware will just become like a watch. You'll have a box at your home, and you have a bunch of watches. Everything shows the
that's
same
correct.
time, but you wanted something matching with you. You want a
Yeah.
hardware. You want a phone. Uh,
Hmm.
eSIM is the way, but eSIM is not easy to switch over to.
Yeah.
Uh, then cloud gaming comes in. You switch your device, the game remains at the same level.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the games have the saved state anyway in the cloud, but it's
Yeah.
rendering on your machine anyway. So it's a hybrid model right now. It's You're playing it locally, but it's saved in the cloud. So eventually
Yeah.
it'll render from there, and you can have a low cost, low end hardware, and
Yeah.
that'll be the future.
Yeah. So I believe the dream is that you're playing on your console
Mm.
and you get a call that you have to go somewhere urgently, like maybe a work call or something, and you just go sit in your cab
Mm.
and you take out your phone or laptop or anything and you start playing. Just take it off from where you left it at the console and you play along that entire way,
Yeah,
like you do with Netflix right now, right?
yeah,
You watch your movie on the go, and like you finish it by the time you reach. So basically you are utilizing that time to its like
yeah.
highest potential.
Just a couple
And
of years away,
same,
not too far, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah. So that is the dream, right?
Mm.
That is why this cloud gaming thing came into the picture. And I think if they succeed in doing that, I think gamers would rejoice.
Absolutely.
without leaving their game.
All right. Okay, interesting.